movies to go through. I'm gonna tell you my thoughts on each of them, and maybe you'll feel inspired to watch some of these and avoid some others. Let me know what other movies you want me to talk about. I still have a lot to catch up on, some movies that I'm gonna be talking on in some future videos. So if you don't want to miss that, don't forget to subscribe to this channel where I talk about movies in ASMR style. So if that's your thing, don't forget to join, and let's get into it. The first movie that I'm gonna be talking about is called Voyagers, and it is a movie by Neil Burger. The main characters are played by Ty Sheridan, Lily Rose Depp, and Fionn Whitehead, and this is a sci-fi movie, kind of young adult YA sci-fi movie, where there are these kids selected for this journey across the universe to go and inhabit some other planet, even though it's not their generation that is gonna do that. They are basically living on a spaceship. Yeah, and it's their goal to pass on the intelligence and life and stuff like that to the future human race. Oh, and I forgot, there's also Colin Farrell playing like the only adult on the ship. So that's pretty much it when it comes to the plot. And for my thoughts, I do have some notes here. First of all, this movie, I saw it in the cinema, and it definitely doesn't feel like a movie that should have gotten a theatrical release. It feels so amateur. I did like the idea. It reminded me of some novels that I used to read from the young adult genre, which isn't a bad thing, but it wasn't executed very well here. Basically, the story itself, it moves in such unbelievable ways. I mean, I can't speak today. Unbelievable ways, and at times it moves too quickly, and it feels rushed in a way. And I mean, if I would have to pick one word to describe this movie, it's the word silly. The story, the characters, all of it. And also, I almost forgot about this, but in this movie there are these, yeah, it doesn't look good, this angle probably. I'll try to fix it for the next video. But in this movie there are these weird and very random montages of like, I don't know, just random things, and it makes it feel even more amateur, because it feels like it tries to do something, feel clever, but it just doesn't work. I gave it 1.5, 1.5 stars out of 5. Yeah, and it's almost, I mean, it has 1 hour 84 minutes, which, the story had the time to develop properly, but it was just all over the place. So this, I don't recommend watching this movie at all, actually. Next up, we have a movie called Jungle Cruise, big Disney release based on a ride in their theme park, which I'm still not really used to, like theme horses in a way to take her through the jungle to find those what's it called, like artifacts. Yeah. And this movie is directed by Jean-Claude Serra, who actually made my favorite movie, House of Wax, and I still need to watch The Orphan. Anyway, you can definitely see in this movie that there are some horror elements. I wish there was more of it, and I wish it looked less CGI, like not everything has to be CGI. There's also the doctor has a brother who is played by Edgar. Who is played by Czech Vidal. And sorry, that was my phone. Anyway, I've seen this movie because of my work quite a few times, and I definitely enjoyed it more on a rewatch. It just embraced the fun, I guess. It's by no means a great movie, but I had fun watching it, and I'm a sucker for fantasy adventures, and there's not that many of them being released today, or even throughout the history of film. I mean, if you have some recommendations, then let me know. I have still yet to watch The Mummy and some other movies that I didn't watch. But you know, a lot of people complained about the CGI look because everything is CGI in this movie, and I do have to agree with that because it makes everything look very artificial, you know, and it was unnecessary. Also, there's this German Nazi villain who is played by Jesse Plemons, who I think that's his name, but I wasn't a fan of the character. It was just, I don't know what they were trying to do with that. And then we have the fantasy villains who just look too fake. They are part of the horror element, some of it, but it's just too fake looking, even for me. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. And as for the horror elements, I actually wish there was more of it, because there was like on a tiny bit. You know, I wish in this sense it would be more like Pirates of the Caribbean, where it embraced the horror aspects. And the story itself, it's just, I mean, it isn't that revolutionary, exciting, or anything like that. What really saved it for me was the chemistry between Emily Blunt's and Dwayne Johnson characters. I think that was great, and Dwayne Johnson was great in this role. I thought I wasn't the biggest fan of his, but I do have to admit that he has a certain charisma to him, and you know, he's good in these fantasy movies. I mean, not what was it called, Journey to the Island with Vanessa Hudgens. His character there was just very cringy and unfunny, but here I enjoyed him. I also like, I mean, I read up on the ride itself, what it used to be. I've obviously never been to Disney theme park, but I read up on some of the problematic stuff about it, and I liked how they subverted some of these things, and I think they did it right. Also, there's this unexpected Metallica needle drop, kinda with a montage that is played along with it, and I actually love that rendition of Metallica's Nothing Else Matters. I mean, after this movie was released, I listened to it non-stop. So I liked that scene, and you know, with the music. And I mean, as I said, most importantly, I had fun with the movie. I had fun with it, but it's nothing I would go back to, or that, I mean, I already forgot that I watched it, but it was fun. If you want some harmless fantasy adventure, then I guess it's okay, but don't expect anything great. It also has 2 hours, which is definitely noticeable at some points, and I gave this movie 2.5 stars out of 5. My neighbors have their TV on real loud, so I hope you're not gonna hear it that much, hopefully. Anyways, the next movie is, I don't know which country it is from, I think Danish. Yeah, it is a Danish movie called The Marco Effect. It is a movie by Martin Sandvliet, and it is a creamy story. Yeah, just a creamy story. I don't really have much to say about this movie. There were some Czech actors playing in it, so that's why it was showed here in the theaters as well, I think. And I have to say the Czech actors weren't that good. And I mean the Danish ones, yes. The main character is played by Ulrich Thomsen. Even though the character did some annoying things, which it was hard to watch. He was, I think, chewing a gum the whole time, which was very annoying, and it didn't really have like that, I mean, importance in the movie or anything like that, so it was just annoying. But this is the exact opposite of a good crime story. Oh, crime. It's crime we have the movie The Suicide Squad, the new one. I wish they would name it something else because it's confusing talking about these movies, because their names are basically the same. Anyway, this one was directed by James Gunn, and again we have a bunch of kind of anti-heroes, superheroes, criminals who make a team to fight against something bad. And in this one we have Harley Quinn, Bloodsport, Peacemaker, and some other ones. There's Margot Robbie playing in this, Idris Elba, John Cena, who I surprisingly really liked, Joel Kinnaman, and some other actors. So this movie, maybe you shouldn't believe my judgment on this one, because when the first Suicide Squad came out, I quite liked it, and I haven't rewatched it since, so I can't compare it, but it's been a while since the first one came out. Anyway, I liked the new one as well. I quite liked it. I think it was a fun movie. I definitely liked the style movie, which reflects the style of comic books, so it's perfect. When it comes to the comedy, I mean, in general, when it comes to comedy in superhero movies, it's not always my style, but in this one I think some of it worked, some of the jokes worked fine, and some others weren't that great, but I could look past it. I mean, I definitely didn't love it, so that's why I don't understand the very high ratings, but I think it was a fun movie. You know, there's some gore and violence that also reflects the comic books, I think, because it's definitely not it's not done in a super realistic way, and I think it was fun movie. So I would recommend watching this, but only if you're already a fan of superhero movies, comic book movies. Yeah, I gave this 3.5 stars out of 5. Next up, we have a movie called Free Guy by Sean Louis. The main character here is played by Ryan Reynolds, and I mean, recently he's been playing kind of the same character over and over again. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing or that it doesn't work. I think it kind of works, but I mean, what I want to say is that it's exactly what you expect from a Ryan Reynolds character. Anyway, this is a movie that's taking place in a video game where one of the, what's it called, the one of the non-playable characters just gains conscious and knows that he's inside the game, that something is weird about his life. Background character, and I like that how it uses the world of the video game. I mean, the effects are definitely well done. It's good. I don't really have many notes on this. It's this kind of self-aware movie, and I think it works. We have this over-the-top romantic or romance plot, which also works, and was a show before. I thought it was just the toys. I didn't know it was based off TV show. Anyway, this is the movie, and we have a group of those puppies who are saving the city, and they're going to Adventure City to save the city. Yeah, that makes sense. Anyway, this movie, I thought it would be terrible. I mean, I had to watch it. I didn't expect nothing. Yeah, so I was quite worried that I would just be annoyed by it, which is just a stupid expectation, you know. But this movie actually wasn't bad at all. You know, for what it was. You definitely don't have to have previous knowledge of the TV series. So if your kids don't watch the TV series, they're still gonna understand it, I think. The animation, at first I thought it looked definitely more like something that would be in a TV show on the TV rather than a big screen, but looking back at it or seeing it again more times than just once, I think the animation is quite nice, you know, more simple and nice. And I think it's actually great that there's even a movie in theater that's more for little kids, you know, even more like preschool kids. So I think that's cool. The story is actually nice again. There weren't too many annoying things. At first, like I didn't like how the dogs were like howling all the time, but I guess that's part of it. But the story is actually nice. It has a nice meaning to it or message. And actually what really surprised me that first time watching it, I mean, it was intense. Watching it, there are some really intense moments in this movie, so I was taken back by it. I mean, it's definitely not something I would watch in my free time, you know, but I was actually nicely surprised by it. And yeah, I think this is a good movie to show your kids, and I gave this 2.5 out of 5 stars. Maybe, or did I? No, I changed it to 3 stars out of 5. I think it's a good movie. I do recommend it. Probably not to adults, but to kids definitely. Another movie that I want to talk about is Reminiscence by Lisa Joy, and this is a kind of sci-fi thriller. Yeah, sci-fi thriller. Not sure if it would classify as a crime movie too. Maybe anyway, even though, well, whatever. The main characters here are played by Hugh Jackman, Rebecca Ferguson, and Van Dyke Newton. And it follows a character named Nicholas Bannister, who is living in this post-apocalyptic future world in Miami that is flooded, by the way, and his job is, or he has this machine through which people can relive their memories. So it's dangerous because some people can get lost in them or want to relive them all the time. One day he meets this mysterious girl named May, and she kinda changes his life, you know. It all goes crazy from there. And then she disappears, and he kinda has to follow the leads, you know, some of which are hidden within the memories and stuff like that. It's kinda an interesting concept. I do remember this video I wouldn't think about it anymore, but this was promising but disappointing in the end, and I gave this movie 2.5 stars out of 5. Another movie that I want to talk about is the new Candyman by Nia Da Costa. Here the main characters are played by Yaha Abdul-Mateen II, Teona Parry, Coleman Domingo, Nathan Stewart Gerrard, and others. And this is kind of sequel to the original Candyman. I thought it was supposed to be a remake, but it wasn't that. But it takes place many years after the original in today's modern world, where the district where it takes place is now gentrified, but the legend, the myth kinda lives on in few people's minds. And the main character Anthony gets interested in this Candyman. He's an artist and he uses it in his art too. This movie, I was really excited about. I watched the original Candyman right before watching this one because I haven't seen it before. So this was one of my most anticipated movies this year. But in the end it was just alright. I did not expect for it to be a sequel. I think I would prefer a remake, but it worked. It was fine. I actually liked the continuation of the Candyman legend or a myth. I think it was done right. And it brings something new to the story as well. Yeah, but there's a lot of... The movie has just really weird pacing because at times it's really slow, but then you get to a certain moment and there's all this information dumped on you and it's really hard to follow because there's too much of it, so I'm gonna have to rewatch it because the timeline just got confusing to me. And then we get to another slow part and another exposition, I guess. It just wasn't great. There are also these animated passages in the movie which I liked. I think it was done well. Yeah, but some of it was just too rushed. Some parts of the movie also for a horror movie wasn't scary. It didn't build any kind of intense atmosphere. It didn't have scares or something like that in it, which I'm not a huge fan of jump scares anyway. There were few things utilized right, like some what's it called, when it's been reflections were utilized quite right, I think, but it just didn't manage to build scary atmosphere or even creepy or intense, which I would be looking for in a horror movie myself, so that's unfortunate. When it comes to the retelling of the racial issues, because there were some questionable things about the previous movie that didn't make sense when it comes to who Candyman was. So here it's explained, but again, they just use the characters to literally tell you everything, so it's a huge exposition dump. I think they could have gone a better way around it. It could have been done in a better way. I'm just saying that. And then comes the ending, which I'm not gonna spoil, of course. But again, another rushed sequel. was just boring and not interesting, not engaging. There were some dreamlike sequences that I thought were interesting ideas, but it wasn't done in like a great way. And I mean, the dream sequences just didn't fit with the movie. You know, it was a